So the whole point of this today is most of you have tried AI in some form or fashion, but is AI working for you, or are you just dabbling? Are you trying this and that, trying some different things? I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story with Robert and AI down a few slides, but just want you what this is all about. Here's the way I want you to think about it. There's two tracks here, but there's one foundation. The foundation is building an AI ecosystem that really serves you and your business well. And that may be just for your business, which is one track, or you may be a coach or a consultant or somebody who wants to learn this stuff and then expand your footprint with your clients. That's track two. That's the track that I've been on for the last 9 months with Robert. 9 months later, something wonderful was born. Funny how that works. So let me go ahead. If you're not muted right now, please mute yourself. Robert, let's go ahead and advance this and we'll talk a little bit about this whole thing. Go back one slide if you would. Over 40 years of doing what I do, I have created a system that works really well. Assess where you're at right now, equip and align yourself, and then find that success that you want. And that's making AI work for you. Okay, Robert, go ahead. So Robert is tech AI expert. He is truly on the cutting edge in the front. Some of the things he's sharing with me right now are preparing me for year 4 and 5 and 6 down the road, which is why we're calling this an ecosystem and not a set of tools or prompts, okay? What I'm going to handle is the strategy, the emotional intelligence, the neuroscience, really the human side of this thing. I'm doing so much with AI right now. We'll kind of roll that out over the weeks as we talk about that. But I'm creating assessments and having those validated, writing books. It's doing the research to help me write my books. I just published book 4 last Saturday. So there's so many things going on. I'm creating new programs. But you know what the biggest win for me was? It was taking 40 years of my work and organizing it in a way that I can actually use it. So, Robert, go ahead and talk a little bit about your side of this.
All right. I got into AI maybe about 3 years ago and then have really dove in. I was working in software and currently I am working mainly with $1 million plus companies to establish databases, local large language model agent infrastructures, and getting their teams working in a cohesive fashion with AI across all their different departments, and then getting leadership visualization into all of their stats and data essentially. So I'm going to be explaining kind of the fundamentals of a lot of that. So we're going to stack each week, kind of first talking about some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to show you how we're going to end up talking about that entire infrastructure where you'll be able to apply it to yourself, but then also understand what's happening with a lot of the companies that are installing this effectively and productively.
Yeah. And the human side of that for us, tell you a little bit more about my story. Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead and advance the slide. It really is not about what you can do with AI. I want to flip the script and talk about what can AI do for you. And honestly, without Robert as a guide, I would not have figured that one out. I'd have been using different tools and playing with them and trying to figure things out. Robert has been a huge help in helping me do that. He's now helping some of my clients do the same thing. I've got a commercial construction client. I've got a marketing agency client. I've got a raw materials client. All of them have unique issues that AI is going to do some wonderful things for. So go ahead, Robert. So really, the question for you is, are you happy being a tool user, or do you want to be an ecosystem builder? So everybody has tried ChatGPT. Maybe you've tried Claude, a faster search engine. It gives you lots of information and all of that, but it's a one-on-one kind of thing. You're putting in information in, you're getting information out. That's great, and it is helpful. What I have found, and that was book number 3, Thrive, Finding Your Entrepreneur's Edge in the Age of AI. What I have found is we can build an ecosystem around who we are and who our business is. And that's what Robert has helped me to do. And that's what we want to share with you all. We don't want to just make you more informed and better by using the tools. We want to start taking things off your plate. And when I coach small business owners on growing their business, the first thing I look for is what can we get off your plate? Because you didn't get into business probably to be a salesman, to be an admin, to do all kinds of things. We want to free people up to be their very best at what they bring to the marketplace. Any thoughts on all of this, Robert?
Nope,
Okay,
it's all
we
good.
move right along then. Yeah. Stop doing tasks, start designing systems. So when I started, help me write this email, help me create this content, help me. That was me. Okay, me using AI. Today, I have live artifacts. We'll describe all that stuff down the road. I have live artifacts. They're giving me my morning briefing automatically. It's automatically tracking my CRM contacts and my follow-ups that are needed every single day. It's it's helping me sort through my emails. I don't know about you guys. I get a ton of emails every day. It's helping me sort through those, find the right ones that I need to respond to, set those in priority order. All of a sudden, my best hire has been in the last 12 months. It's been AI. That's been my best hire in the last 12 months. And it's running in the background for me all the time. Okay, Robert. Oh, it's still me. Yeah, I can talk all day, guys, as John Conson was. So, stage 1 is dabbling, it's trying it out. Here's something that I want to share with everybody. I talked to you guys going to handle the human side of this. The vast majority of people right now are so uncertain about AI that they're afraid to do much of anything with it. And now I am one that believes in building your foundation of AI with what fits you, your values, your ethics, the way you want to run your business, and all of that. Absolutely agree with that. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Somebody famous said that once. So it's okay to dabble, but there's a process that I went through, which is really a process of trying different things and learning different things. So I started to switch, started to think more about, wait a minute, how do I take this 40 years of work that I've done? And it's if I showed you how many external hard drives and flash drives and things that I went through to capture all of my work from 40 years, it's ridiculous. Well, I had stuff everywhere. But the organization and using AI to do that has created a structural system that literally, while I was on the Smart Connect a little while ago, in that 7 minutes when everybody's in one-on-one rooms, I'm running 3 different AIs at the same time, 3 different AI projects at the same time. I'm creating a training program, a 12-week training program. None of that was possible without first organizing things. All of this is building up to an ecosystem that is going to take the things off my plate that I want off my plate, and it's going to free me up to spend more time doing the things that I want to do. Okay, Robert, thank you.
No problem.
By the way, this is not going to be all lecture. I promise you that we're going to get to the interactive part of this thing. Robert, take over.
Perfect. So I'm going to start off by just talking about agents. That has become the big boom of 2026, as there's 1,000 different companies out there selling agents, agent companies. That is the boom of this year. So I was going to explain, and this is going to kind of help set the tone for the different subjects we're going to be covering week to week. So that's why I'm starting with this. The bottom line basic structure of an agent is you're first choosing a large language model. That could be Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, Claude. You could have your own local model, and that's ultimately the brain. That's going to be the thing that's actually doing the processing. How you instruct that large language model as to what to do is the prompts. That, if you just take those two, that's just basic ChatGPT, people going back and forth asking about recipes or what their favorite show is, just going back and forth. Where it starts to actually take form into an agent is you take that large language model, you start to do more complex prompts and instructions, and then it actually attaches to tools. The tools are what actually give it the ability to go into your CRM, do something inside of your Gmail, create content, post content on your behalf, start doing all those types of actions and activities. That's a lot of the stuff you see people developing all over the place right now is there's 1,000 different tools. So you'll see that on YouTube and all over. That's anything that can take action using AI, that's the tools. Then it comes down to data. This is where most companies and individuals get really messed up is they don't understand how to give the proper context to the AI, how to build the knowledge bases, how to structure their data. Most companies were with this leading up to AI. Now that AI is in there, they're trying to add automations, agents, and what almost everybody's running into is at a point they can't scale it anymore or they can't automate it anymore because their data isn't structured properly. So we'll get into that also. That's a lot of what Steve was talking about when he was talking about that 40 years of documentation and me showing him this is how you can start to organize this and format it in a way where the AI can actually interact and move through it because that's a lot of data for it to go through. And you either have to use massive amounts of tokens or the AI can't do it and it can't get the context it needs.
Robert, let me
Ultimate,
add one quick thing there.
yeah, no problem.
Don't be afraid of what we're talking about in structuring an organization because basically I just walked the AI through what I wanted it to do for me, and I learned as it was learning, and we got better together. And so the actual work that goes into that, the heavy lifting, the AI is doing with the right direction. Go ahead, Robert.
Perfect. So the way to think about it is the LLM is the brain, the prompts brief the brain, the tools actually give the brain the ability to act or extend the brain, and the data actually grounds the brain in the memory and the actual information. What most people start with is they try to do a prompt that then goes into a tool or tries to take an action. It doesn't have the right context or data, so they get basically a generic output from the AI. When you switch that around and go, let's make sure we're using the correct LLM, which we can get into that in detail, which one's used for different purposes and what I use. Having an actual prompt discipline where which type of prompt you're trying to create the type of output or action, then what tool, and then having a data foundation. What you'll find as we go through this is the better you have your data structured or the better you have structured the information you're putting into the AI, it now takes your context and is actually giving outputs based on that as opposed to the generic information it's been trained on. You want to say anything to that, Steve? I can pause on each one if you
No, I'll
want.
tell you why this is critical, and I may be getting ahead of us here, Robert. Here's what's critical. Right now, computing power to us is cheap. 20 bucks a month on here or 100 bucks. I pay 100 bucks a month on Claude because I'm doing so many different things. I've got Claude Cowork and Claude Code, and I'm doing all this stuff with Claude, all of that. Somewhere down the road, that's going to flip and the computing power is going to become much more expensive. What's the answer for us, Robert? What do we need to be doing?
Perfect. So for right now, taking advantage of that, keep that brief and go taking advantage of that. Because what's happening right now is if I were to pay what I pay right now is I have 7 max plans between ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. And I max every single one of them out every month. The it's because the compute is so low. What's going to happen is those are going to inflate. If I was paying API prices, I'd be spending over about $30 to $35,000 a month on what I pay for those. So we're getting it at a discount right now, and they're already, as the models are improving, they're lessening their processing. So I'm telling everybody in every company, you need to be acting on this immediately because you're getting AI at a discount. It's going to get more expensive
Yeah.
and the processing is going to go down as more and more users come on. So the time to act and actually get involved in this, that's why I have so many accounts. Is I went nuts going, I got to figure out and train this stuff and get as much done as I can right now and build a good infrastructure for myself. I use all the different ones for different purposes, but if you're going to start with one, that's a good foundation because you can get in, you can get a paid account and get into like Claude Cowork, and it makes it easy for you to go from prompting to actually being able to take action using tools, and it gives you a very good bridge to be able to come across. So Claude's the best bang for your buck right now. If you're actually a coder, Codex inside of ChatGPT, I think is the best right now. Gemini does some really good stuff with that as well. But if you want to get into an ecosystem, getting into Claude, and we'll talk about that week to week and different tools and how to set that up as kind of a foundation, it kind of applies to certain tools in the other environments as well. It has the strongest writing and reasoning. Anybody who's a coach or a consultant, I'm getting all of them. Part of my business model is working with coaches and consultants and teaching them about AI. And then we basically partner and go into their companies. And then they help me do a lot of the lower level training. And then I get to do a lot more of the advanced stuff. So it ends up being a good teamwork thing. But they need to be inside of Claude because of the reasoning, the planning, the writing. It really works extremely well for them. For businesses, Claude is allowing different departments to work in their own Claude instance and actually communicate through Slack back and forth so they can actually have their AIs talking to each other. And it's pretty straightforward to set that up. There's a little bit of code and a little bit of stuff that you have to do in the back end to really get it to work, but it sets that infrastructure up. So it's a good infrastructure for you to get into if you're just starting out. And you can get in at the $20 a month. What most coaches find is within a week that most of them that I've talked to are up to the $100 a month one because they're creating so many programs and automating so much of their stuff. They're like, this is going to help me land more clients. And so for anybody who's got some experience with AI, you will probably have heard of this. This is the RICE method. There are different versions of this. There's the RICE fact method. There's the RICE OS method. There's a bunch of different ones that kind of add things onto this, but this is literally where I started in just understanding the foundations of how to prompt. So in prompting, if you give the AI its role, you tell it who it is. So if I need it to be a copywriter, I tell it it's a copywriter. If I need it to be a marketer, I explain that it's a marketer. If I need it to be a data analyst, same thing. I basically am explaining what perspective am I wanting the AI to approach this in. Then I'm going, this is your role. This is what I want you to do. I have to then learn how to give it the step-by-steps, the link, the format, different things that it needs. All of you will get a copy of this. This is one of the documents that'll go out. And then I need to give it context. Context in this case is just giving it the understanding of who it's talking to, what tone it needs to be in, what situation, what kind of output. You're starting to give it like the definitions of what you need it to do. And then examples. This is actually where I have found the most success with AI is if I can get a good framework. For instance, if I'm doing a course, if I can get an example course that I can feed the AI and go, here's something that I built. I need to do something similar to this, just with this information. AI does a great job at being able to assess that and then be able to look at your new information. So that's really more powerful than I thought it was in the beginning. I really honestly skipped the examples a lot of the time. And as I got more and more content and then started giving it that context, I saw that I could make a website and then go into AI, show it the website HTML, and it would just create basically right off the same template and be very close to what I was looking for much, much more quickly. So that's kind of the foundation of how to prompt. Now we'll get into a little bit another structure of prompting that gets a little bit more advanced. So, and there's a document that actually lays this out much better than this slide does. So I'm going to talk about this, but Actual document is a lot better when you're actually looking at the document. So first thing is setting up the task that you want done. So when I'm instructing AI inside of like my agent environment, I'm actually giving the agents tasks to do. So I'm explaining the task to the AI. So you can do this in a chat inside of a prompt, but when you're starting to move into like getting it to actually act, you have to think of it more like I'm giving this agent a task or my AI a task. Generally, it kind of already has a sense of its role because you've already built some level of infrastructure and context to that. Then I'm going to give it the reference files. Typically, I'll have markdown files or documents or PDFs or something that I am feeding in, and I'm giving it that extra information. We'll end up when we get to the data section, I'll talk about how businesses are setting up context for their business, how solopreneurs are doing that for themselves, how to set up those types of files. So then we're feeding those files so it knows what it's doing, and now it has all the surrounding information that it's going to need in order to execute the task.
Yeah.
Then I'm
Robert,
going to give it,
a quick word.
go
Uh,
ahead.
some of these terms may be new to you and you may not be knowledgeable of some of this stuff. You've got my email. You can always reach out to me and ask, hey, Robert talked about these markdown files. What's all that about? We will also provide you tools and follow-ups to help you understand that. I just want you to not worry about, gosh, I don't know what that is, and am I falling behind here? AI is ahead of everybody. We're all trying to catch up at this point, but feel free to reach out if I can be helpful.
Yes, and you'll be able to take this information and put it into, the document I'm going to send is outlining everything I'm saying, and you'll be able to put it into the AI and go, what is this? What is he talking about with context files? How do I do this? And the AI will be able to spit that right back out to you. Then we get into references. That's going to be any additional prompt information that you need to give it, upload references, URLs, anything else that it needs for that context. Then you're going to give it a success brief. Basically, what that is what's the definition of done? What is this going to look like? What kind of format do I want this in so it understands what type of output? Then I'm going to give it the rules. And I know I'm going through this really, really fast, but I don't want to go on and on about it. Once we get to the question part, if you have questions about any of this, you want me to define it more, I will. Then you're going to give it the rules, what it cannot do, what it can do, what constraints there are with landmines, anything like that that you need to kind of keep it within a certain scope. Then I'm going to start actually explaining, like, don't start executing this yet. I can get it to ask me clarifying questions. I almost always tell my AI before you run or execute anything, ask me questions, because sometimes it won't. It'll just go and start trying to act. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to get as much context. I want to get somewhat of like I treat it like it's a human and go, I want to see what its understanding of everything I just gave it is by the questions it's asking. Most of the time, I can kind of catch if it's going to go off track because I've gotten used to, based on the questions, understanding what its perspective on this stuff is. Then, before it does anything, I make it create a plan. I typically ask it to make a plan in a document so I can review the document, unless this is for more complex stuff. So usually I'm going, I want to see how it's formulating the information I gave it, and then I go through and edit the plan. After skimming it, I find the parts that are incorrect, and then I send it out. So the conversation and the plan give me a chance to double check what the AI is understanding, get it into the correct focus before we start moving it into executing in tools. So we've already selected our large language model. Now we're trying to get everything structured so that when it starts to move into a tool and starts to take action or is going into our data to take action on that data, we have it fully honed in and it's doing the right thing off the bat. Once it goes out and does those actions, that's when we come back and we go, we got to fix our prompt. Usually, if we have the tools set up properly and the data set up properly, it's all a matter of how do we hone in this prompt and this instruction so that the AI is actually executing properly.
Yeah.
And then the alignment is basically we've got all this honed in. Now it's ready to actually go and we see what it actually does when it goes into action.
Yeah. And I don't do anything without a plan. Sounds like a line from an old movie. But bottom line, I don't start to try and create anything until I work with the AI to let's come up with a plan. Then I can look at it and see if it's covering what I want. And then I can adjust through the prompting. Been a huge value add from Robert to me and helping me understand what's the sequence of this stuff? Because the right sequence gives you far better results.
Now, yeah, that's fine. This is actually wrapping it all up. Honestly, I should have been sliding as I was doing that whole talk. So once we have the prompt done, the two parts that the prompt turns into is the tools and the data, like I was saying there at the end. So the prompt, once it is set, now the large language model understands what it's going to come and do with the tools and the data that you've structured. So the prompt and understanding the foundations of the prompt, and then understanding the difference when you move from the RICE method, which is just if you're going in a chat and needing to go in and get an output, that's one thing.
Yeah, so let me give you some outcomes and why Robert and I firmly believe this is so critical for anybody who really wants to engage. I'm saving easily 15 to 20 hours a week. I've got a blog, I've got a podcast, content creation. That's just a small part. Yesterday, I created a prospect list for one of my clients, 326 organizations, 554 leaders with their contact information in about 35 to 40 minutes. And I didn't pay anybody else for anything. Now, I did recommend that they use a tool like Hunter or Apollo to verify emails, okay? But that kind of service to my clients is why I'm keeping clients now for years as a coach and consultant versus a project here and a project there. It also works the same for me. Have my daily CRM follow up. Everything is outlined in the Claude Cowork in what's called a live artifact. Basically, think of it as a task that runs automatically every day when I push the button. I know I know who to contact from my CRM. I know who I need to follow up with. I have my morning briefing, pulls from my Fathom notes, my emails, other things that helps me prepare for the day in what used to take 30 minutes to an hour now takes 3 to 5 minutes. And it is my 24/7 lead generation. There are so many very cool things that happen. Don't miss the bottom line here. All of this happens in a few minutes. I didn't write it, I designed it. So now I have an assistant running all the time for me, doing these things, coming up with, I've created new revenue. Had you told me a year ago that I would be coaching people on helping them build their AI ecosystem and all of that, I'd have told you you're out of your mind. But I love doing that to help people understand we as entrepreneurs can compete with anybody today with the technology that's available to us if we know how to use it. That's enough, Robert.
So I always go, it's not that AI is going to replace people. The person who's empowered with AI is now the person who gets to keep that position. So that's actually the what's happening with AI. It's not so much that it's going to wipe out every human's job. It's going to be the people with AI are going to be the ones that rise to the top. The ones who aren't adopting it and aren't learning how to use the functions are going to get replaced by the people who do.
Yeah. So when we say we want to train you to teach this, first it's teaching yourself. We want to help you understand for yourself what this can be. Now, I want you to think about it this way. You're building the forms for the foundation, your AI ecosystem. The house that you build on that foundation is up to you, but we can guide you and help you through that process. That's what this 8 weeks is about. We will also have down the road other ways to support people who want to engage at this at higher levels. We'll create a community, we'll have ongoing processes and all of that. Not a sales pitch, guys. I'm just telling you right now where Robert and I are headed. If you want that kind of relationship somewhere down the road,
On that.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add to what Robert just said, the reason that I partnered with Robert in this, what I call a strategic partnership, is there's a lot of tech people on Alignable and out there in the world and all of that. Robert is one of the only ones. I've got 40 years of coaching, consulting, and business and organizational development and all of that. Robert's one of the only tech people I've ever met who really understands how businesses run. And that makes a huge difference in because it's not somebody just spewing tech at us. It's somebody who understands what the outcome should look like, and then we can back engineer the technology and the AI for the outcome.